Hey, brother.
Hey, brother.
So I don't know if you ever heard of Florida Man Birthday before,
Yeah.
but yeah, you type your birthday in to Google with Florida Man, and then a headline comes up from that birthday.
Yeah.
So what I want us to do is, I'm just gonna throw out an actor.
Okay.
We will look up their birthday,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna write a movie based on their Florida Man.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Who do you got?
Florida Man the movie
Yeah.
starring John C. Riley.
Oh, John C. Reilley. Okay. Yes.
So I could look up his birthday.
Uh-huh.
Well, I could try and look up his birthday. John C. Riley. Okay, his birthday is May 24th.
May 24th. Okay. It's coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Florida Man, May 24th. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Florida Man uses alligator to shotgun a beer. Wait a second. Sorry. I gotta click on it because I can't see the whole.
Yeah.
Okay. Florida Man uses alligator to shotgun a beer
Yeah.
while cranking Skinnerd. Like Leonard Skinnerd. Okay.
Wait. So Florida man uses an alligator to shotgun a beer, and when they're saying shotgun a beer, what are they talking about? Are they talking about like
They're
like
saying
when
like
you
when you stab
you
through
stab
it
it?
and then like open it. So he used an alligator tooth to
Oh.
like to stab through it
Yeah.
and shotgun it while Leonard Skinnerd was blasting in the background.
Okay. There might be something we can do with that. So we have to write a movie around this.
Yeah, we either have to write a movie around
Yeah.
this or we can see what the other May 24th headlines are.
Are there more?
There are more, yes.
Let's see. Yeah, let's see what the other ones are, because maybe we could pick one that's a little bit more interesting.
Okay, Florida man recounts surviving shark attack.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, wait, I'm in the wrong area here. Florida man, Jordan Rivera, whose arm was ripped off. This sounds promising. Let me.
Okay.
All right, Florida man Jordan Rivera, whose arm was ripped off by a 10-foot gator, was peeing in pond because bar line was too long. Okay. Okay.
You like that one?
So, I think that we can do
You wanna do
a
that?
combination of the two because
Oh yeah. Yeah.
that first one, like it's just something that happens in the movie. It could even be how he lost his arm.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So now
So-
we've got this guy.
Jordan Rivera,
Jordan
played by
Rivera.
John C. Riley.
Yeah, John C. Riley. So John C. Riley, in case anyone doesn't know, is the other guy in Step Brothers. He's not
Yeah.
Will Ferrell. He's the other stepbrother.
Yeah,
If people
he's
don't know
Dewey
who John C.
Cox.
Riley is. Yeah, he's Dewey Cox. He's the bake in the Shake and Bake in Talladega Nights. He was supposed to be born on the 22nd, but his head is so big that it took a couple
Yeah.
days before he came out. That guy's. I actually saw him. I've actually seen him in real life, and his head is
Yeah.
huge, and I mean,
Yeah.
like four
Yeah.
brains big. Like that. He's probably the smartest man alive for how big his head is.
Well, now we can play the smartest Florida man alive,
Yeah. So he gets.
Jordan Rivera.
Yeah. The weird thing is like, is this guy who has his arm tore off by an alligator? Was it an alligator or a crocodile? Alligator?
There's a gator.
A gator?
Yeah.
Okay. By an alligator. Is that the kind of like the big plot thing, or is that just something that
Right.
happens to the guy?
I know. As I was reading it, I felt like, well, that sounds like the like the inciting incident, maybe,
Yeah.
or and it's like it's even, and then him using a crock to shotgun a beer.
Yeah.
It's like that's either something that he's doing before he gets his arm ripped off and now
Yes.
he's afraid of gators.
Yes.
Or it's something he does at the end of the movie where now he's conquered his fear of gators.
Yeah. Yes.
It's that triumphant moment where it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not scared of gators
I feel
anymore.
like- yeah.
And then he shotguns a beer with Skinner playing in the background.
I feel like, my mind wanders because if you make it a comedy, then it is more about, it could just be about really anything. And this alligator situation is just something that happens. If
Yeah.
it's more of a drama, it could be some triumphant thing where there's this kind of knucklehead idiot
Right.
who has this horrific accident happen to him, and as a result, he's now like changing the world for people who are handicapped. Because now he has this
Yeah.
perspective of, I've only got the one, I used to be this big, strong guy who can kind of do anything.
Yeah.
And I was, chugging beers with gator teeth, shotgunning beers with gator teeth before I ended up losing my arm to a gator and realized, how difficult it is just to do these certain things because whatever,
Yeah.
So it's like what, you could even have him be like a war veteran who then comes back home. And the thing is, like, he is a veteran, and people are like, oh, you lost it in, wherever. And he's like, no, actually, like, when I came back home, I was shotgunning beers with a gator tooth, and ironically, a gator, that same gator that I stole the tooth from, came up and stole my arm. And it's like, so I don't...
Yeah, it is really largely dependent on if you go comedy or drama, and you can go either way with John C. Reilley. So John C. Reilley is he's versatile enough.
Yeah.
He's a dynamic enough actor. You see him in like Paul Thomas Anderson stuff.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, did you ever see Stan and Ollie? He was really good in Stan and Ollie.
Yes.
It was about Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah.
But then, like, he does, like, real goofball stuff, too, like Walk Hard and the Will Ferrell movies.
Yeah. I think he's got the gift of not looking terribly intelligent while being exceptionally intelligent, which allows him to be versatile in what he's doing.
Yeah, it allows him to play...
Yeah, because he can play Step Brothers. He can play Step Brothers where it's like you've got the maturity of a 14-year-old and you're pulling it off. But then he can also do something like Stan and Ollie, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Because it's about
Laurel and Hardy.
Stan
Hardy,
Laurel,
yes. and Oliver Hardy.
Yeah. Terrible name for the movie, by the way. Right?
Yeah, no,
like the Laurel and Hardy story would have been better because that I could remember because I have...
Yeah, you know what you're going to watch.
Yeah. But great movie, though. I love the movie.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Not a great title, I agree. But no, I think that if you're going to jump into a Florida Man story, the whole point is like, hey, look how ridiculous these Florida Man headlines are.
Yeah.
You got to go comedy.
Yeah.
And it can still be about him, like, kind of, it could still be kind of like a heartfelt, touching,
right.
like, like, now I'm trying to make things better.
Yeah.
Like, in my community for like, handicap, for, like, other people who maybe are, like, missing a limb.
Yeah.
It kind of opens his eyes. Maybe he's kind of a jackass, and then, like, now he's not so much of a jackass. Like, now he's actually, like, let me take this tragedy and turn it into something positive for the community.
Yeah. He's a guy
It can still be that.
Yeah. He's not really doing anything positive. He's just partying.
Yeah.
And then this, as a result of this, he's now doing something positive for everybody.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you kind of used to be a waste of space. And now it feels more like you're a benefit to be around. So, yeah, I think that's not bad. I think it's kind of funny if here's how I would start it. Should I just jump into this thing? Okay.
Yeah.
I would start it with him as a child. A very large-headed child with curly, froey hair. And
Yes.
he's got the cutoff shirt going, you know. He's got the cutoff shirt, but he still, for some reason, has the farmer tan.
Okay.
You know, right? He's in like the boat with his dad.
Yeah.
And then they catch a gator, but it's a pup gator. It's too young really to like take and eat. He's like, we can't eat it. We got to return it. But here's what you can do, son. You can get those pliers and steal one of those gator's teeth. And then every time you see that gator when it gets older, you'll know that's the gator because you can see that it's missing that one tooth.
Yeah.
So he's like, does it, you know? Oh, and now he's got the gator tooth.
Okay.
So that's how he gets the gator tooth that he shotguns the beer with. And now he's growing.
Can I stop you right there?
Step in.
So that first headline,
yeah,
he doesn't use a gator tooth. He uses a gator. He like has the gator bite bite the can. This Florida man we're talking about.
That's even better. Okay. So wait, he can do that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
He can do that with the little gator, and that's his first beer with his dad for catching the gator. He's like, but you got to throw the gator back afterwards. But then there has to be something that happens. The gator either loses a tooth or the gator gets like a scar on it or something
recognizable.
Yeah, so we can tell. It doesn't matter what it is, though.
It's
it could
the
be
same
the tooth. I think the tooth is cool, though, that the gator loses a tooth in the beer, you know? And now he keeps the tooth and is, shotgunning the beers with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good, though. I like that better. I thought the guy was just using a tooth. He's actually using...
No. This is Florida, man.
This is
he
Florida.
Grabs a whole gator. Has it bite the beer can.
This is like,
Skinner in the background.
Everyone, just so So all people in Florida understand, we either think every single one of you is an older, retired person, or you're Tiger King. You're either there, like one extreme or the other. You're either a retired person who's just kind of done with it, or you're the craziest person on the planet. Okay.
Sounds like a fun place.
So he's growing up. Now you can show him like a little bit older, you know?
Yeah.
And you can show the gator, and he's like, there's my gator, you know? Yeah. The gator sees him, and he feels good about seeing the gator, because that's his first like time with his dad and all this other stuff. But the gator wants revenge for losing the tooth. You know, the gators, it wasn't a good experience for the gator.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, you can kind of just go through that whole thing, and then you could be showing kind of how big of a jerk he is. Maybe there's a kid in a wheelchair at his high school that he picks on, and, it's like kind of like, hey, I'll help you up the thing, and then, like, let's go halfway up the thing, up the ramp, Like, he's a jerk.
Yeah. Not a good guy.
Yeah, like this kind of stuff. Maybe he'll kind of like make fun of some guy who's got like a prosthetic leg or something like that.
Yeah.
So you kind of just show this side of him where it's like he's pretty immature. He doesn't really get it.
Yeah.
He doesn't think this stuff would ever happen to him.
Yeah.
Like he's above it for some stupid reason.
Yeah.
Anyway, now we're fast forwarding to there's some point where there's now, I mean, really the lock-in is him getting his arm bit off by this alligator.
Yeah. So he according to the headline, the bathroom, the line of the bathroom in the bar was too long.
Yeah.
So he goes out to pee into the pond.
Yeah.
So like he's just peeing directly onto the gator, the gator.
Oh yeah.
In the dark and not realizing it.
Yeah. And if you think humans think it's disrespect to get peed on,
it's a real big faux pas in the gator community.
Alligators do not like it. Yeah. So he's and he could Does he see the gator? Like he sees the gator coming up and he's peeing on it and he's like turning back to his friends like, look, my gator's here, and then like
he
takes his arm.
Could. I was thinking like he doesn't see it because it's dark, but yeah, that might work. That might work better.
Yeah.
It's just like he almost thinks of it like a pet.
Yeah, I think it should be dark, but he could still for some reason see it. In the moonlight or something like that. Is there some kind of a love interest where he's got this love interest who's a little bit like him, who likes him because he's this like top top kind of guy, you know. Then once he loses the arm, now she's like, I don't really want to be with the guy who doesn't have 2 arms, you know.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Like, how are you going to start the lawnmower, you know? And he's like, I can still start a lawnmower, you know. You don't need 2 arms for that. How are you going to drive? You've got the 10 o'clock, but you don't got the 2 o'clock. You know, like this stupid stuff like this. But there's also this girl that I don't know. Like now, should there be another love interest who she just isn't shallow? Like he, you know, where he kind of rises up to her level.
It's a little typical.
Yes.
And I feel like I've even seen it before in like maybe a 90s comedy. But
you've seen it before in John C. Reilley films.
Probably, yeah. But when you first said that, the first thing that came to mind was like, oh, well then like the love interest or the actual love interest who's not a jerk, is like probably has a prosthetic and is like kind of hiding it from him because she knows that he like, you know, is kind of a jerk about it and kind of treats them like jerks about it.
Yeah.
So then this like thing happens to him.
Yeah.
And now she sympathizes with what he's going through.
Yeah.
And they start to connect.
Yeah.
And like maybe he's even kind of like, you know, like complaining to her about like, oh, like my high school sweetheart left, you know, because because my friend bit my arm off.
Yeah. He could, He could, Maybe, I don't know if what if he knows about it and he's kind of a jerk to her a little bit, you know? In high school or something like that. Then as they get, once he loses his arm, he goes to kind of like a group, you know? And she's in the group. And now he kind of has to go up to her and be like, I was a jerk to you. And she's like, no, like kind of placating him. No. He's like, no, I was. And she's like, yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like you would miss out on an opportunity to have like a reveal. You know? And then it could even be like if he does go to one of those, like a support group.
Yeah.
Like her being there would be a surprise to him.
Yeah.
And then it's like he still has to have that moment because like he knows that she's seen him be a jerk.
Yeah.
Like to others.
Yeah.
So it's like he'd still have to kind of have that redemptive moment with her, but like I like the idea of having that surprise. Like you could write that in where it's like, you know, he gets to the support group and then sees her there, and then like she starts telling her story.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, like I lost my leg to a gator. Like the line was too long at the bathroom.
Yeah.
And it's like parallels his story and he's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Doing the John C. Reilley voice.
John C. Reilley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I lost the gator as well. Yeah. It's something like that. There has to be
Anthony's buffering.
There has to be some weird thing. There has to be some weird thing that happens though that kind of shows he hasn't changed yet. He's like, you know what I mean? Like he's surfaced changed because this thing happened. He lost his arm. He's got to deal with it. There's the surface change. But then, like some guy's like, dude, like, for $20,000, I can get you an arm back, you know? And he's like, what do you mean, you know? And the guy's like, what you do is, you know, like you take somebody, like I'm in the morgue, I take someone's arm off, I keep electricity going to it, because this is a comedy, you can say stupid stuff like this. I keep it electrical signal to it so the arm doesn't die, and then I attach that arm to your body, and now you've got 2 working arms. It's like, you can do that, you know, this kind of thing. So this obviously is something that I don't know if this is something that you could actually do in movie world, or you can't do in this movie world. Obviously, in the real world.
So, yeah, like he's just scamming him.
I'm pretty sure in
It's
the
like-
real world you couldn't do this, but
yeah,
in movie
but
world,
this guy,
yeah,
he
in
could
movie,
just be lying to get $20,000 out
yeah,
of him.
this is just like a scam thing. And then, so he thinks I can get my arm back.
Yeah.
And now he kind of shows that, like, I haven't fully changed yet. Like, I still haven't accepted this thing.
Okay.
And I'm still kind of a jerk. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There is a less subtle way to do it.
Yes.
Or, I mean, a more subtle way to do
Yes.
it. That doesn't involve... I mean, I don't know. I kind of like the arm thing with the $20,000. I kind of like that because that's a good B plot.
Yeah.
But the more subtle way that I was thinking would be like just at the end of the support group, like one of the guys that's like missing a leg, like is like using like crutches or something.
Yeah.
And he like asks John C. Reilley to get the door for him, and he's like, "Oh, I can't. I only have one arm," and like he just doesn't. Like, he doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Like, he still kind of looks at himself like he's the victim. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, you have one arm. Open
Yeah.
the door for me. Like, I'm missing a leg.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, that's kind of the way I was thinking of it. Is like, he still has, like, some maturing to do where it's like, you have to stop looking at yourself like the victim.
Yeah.
And, like, start kind of, like, growing into that acceptance role and realizing that you can still be of help to the community. You could still be, like, of service to other people. You could be useful.
How does he do that? Because that's kind of his moment where he grows, is that he does find a way of being of use to people.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. I know, right? What is he?
Yeah. It's very like I keep thinking very like 90s like typical 90s comedy.
Yeah.
Kind of that feel good goofy comedy. And in those there's always like some kind of community thing. There's like an event, or there's a resource center, or there's a supermarket that's like opening, or they're trying to get it open, but there's like something that's keeping it from happening.
Yeah.
And then our hero is like the guy who, starts like some bake sales and some fundraising, or, like beats some competition in order to get that thing open.
Yeah.
So like, I think in order for him to have a moment where he can show that like I could be useful to the community, and I can like make this tragedy turn into something positive, is there has to be something in town that is maybe not quite so accessible to people who have a handicap.
Yeah.
And it could even be a redemptive moment for this like kid in the wheelchair that he went to high school with, where it's like he's able to do this thing, and then like the guy still lives in town, and he's able to like access it now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it could be as simple as like a grocery store, and maybe it's like, the only one. Depending on where they're at, if they're in kind of like more of like a swamp town that's like real far out from like the nearest city, it's like it could even just be like, well, the nearest supermarket aside from this one is like 15-20 miles away.
Yeah.
And it's like it'd just be so much more convenient, especially for people who have a handicap.
Yeah.
To just be able to get their groceries right here, but like there's no ramp access. There's it's. Like, maybe it's a mom and pop shop, and it's like they can't really afford to get, to install a ramp or something. Like, and it could just be as simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I mean, it would have to be a big enough town that there's enough people that have a handicap that it is an issue.
Yeah. I think there's... Yeah, I mean, I think... I think just in the broader scope... Even if it's not necessarily, like... the town itself, but if he's got some kind of a skill before the accident that is kind of being wasted. You know, like he's using his talent kind of in selfish ways. And then after the accident, he's now realizing I can use this talent now in like a more positive way. Like, you know, because if it's like, if someone's like, hey, you know, this, like if he goes to the hospital and notices like, hey, there's a kid here and this kid needs a prosthetic leg, but obviously this kid is still growing. So they need a new prosthetic leg like every like 6 months to a year, you know?
Yeah.
For it to be comfortable and to work properly. And I'm actually pretty good at building stuff and modifying stuff.
Right. Okay.
You know? So, and that even could be something that like now this love interest is helping him with, because he's like, I can't do it with the one arm. And she's like, I'll be your other hand.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you know, because, you know, like if you're using a screwdriver, really what you're doing is you're using one hand for the screwdriver and using the other hand to stabilize whatever it is you have.
Right.
You know,
right.
And it's like, it's kind of like that with most things you're doing if you're building or fixing stuff, is you're really using like one hand to do the actual building and fixing, and the other hand is just the stabilizer.
Yeah.
I think that might be a cool way of going about it, like that he's just this like woodshop pro. Or he's just real good in like metal class, and he just is, because his dad, he grew up on the bayou. His dad's kind of like doing the boat. His dad's always like coming up with these like hacky ways of fixing things, and you know, so he knows how to do this stuff. And when you give this prosthetic to like, you know, the doctors or these other people, they're not really so engineering technical with like, well, how would I modify this thing to give it like an extra inch on it, you know? Whereas he's like, oh, all you got to do is, you know, and then now he's, so it's kind of like this. It could even be this bittersweet thing too, where he realizes I know how to fix that for you, but he also realizes I can't actually do it anymore. And now it's like I want to help, I can't help, because I need the other hand.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think...
Yeah, it kind of like maybe helps him to realize that he has been putting this talent to waste all these years.
And it's like that first time he feels a part of now this community, when he's got this other person helping him. And it's like, I used to just do stuff on my own, and my dad was always teaching me to be self-reliant and all this other stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But I didn't realize, maybe there's even those moments where like now he's like kind of flashing back and realizing like, no, actually like my dad wasn't always saying be self-reliant. He also was talking about the teamwork too, and congratulating me on like, hey, I just need you to put your hand here so I can get this. And now he's remembering that stuff too. Like, oh, my dad was teaching me how to be cooperative as well.
Yeah.
And I was but I was just so, you know, infatuated with winning and being, you know, the big man on campus. John C. Reilley is like 60 years old right now. No, how old is he now? 50? He's in his 50s?
He's got to be in his 50s. Yeah. I don't know. When I looked up his birthday, I should have looked up the year.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know,
he could still play it. He could still pull it off.
He could still play it.
I'm in high school. You're 57 years old. No, I don't know how old he is, but yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's actually...
I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Florida Man, the movie, starring John C. Reilley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm satisfied with that. So there was something that we brought up off camera. Who was it? It was James Dean.
Yeah.
We were talking about James Dean. He's an actor from the 50s. He's been in 3 films.
Yes.
It was East of Eden, Rebel Without a Cause, and Giant.
Yeah.
And he's really, really good in all of them. And he died. He died young. He got into a car accident. And we were talking about It's like, man, it'd be kind of interesting to see how his career might have gone if he had survived. Because he was really good.
Yeah.
He was a very good actor. So I wanted to do a little bit of speculation on kind of what do you think the kind of roles he would get, or are there roles that you think he would have stolen from other actors?
Yeah. Well, I think, the first thing that came to mind for me was The Great Escape.
Oh, yeah.
Because The Great Escape has so many actors in it. It's got, Charles Bronson's in it. Then Steve McQueen. Yeah, Steve McQueen kind of has that starring role in it. Yeah. I think James Dean might have had that role. Might have had the Steve McQueen role. Yeah.
I could see him taking roles from kind of like heartthrobs in the 60s.
Yeah.
People like Paul Newman. Like, Paul Newman's a great actor, so it'd be difficult to steal a role from him. But James Dean was also a great actor, so I could, imagine him taking something like Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, here's James Dean. He was the rebel without a cause. He's the rebel. We want to get him to play Cool Hand Luke. I could totally see that happening.
Yeah. Let me ask this question about James Dean. Because we have actors who have passed away. We've got Heath Ledger, was James Dean really the big actor who passed away? Really, even before some people got a chance to even see the movie. Do you know what I mean? He comes out, he's huge. Then he's gone, and you're I'm wondering if
we're people discovering him and then being oh man, who's this great actor, and then finding out he died,
and then he's gone.
I don't know. I'm not sure how soon after what was it? I think Giant was his last film. But I'm not sure how soon after he died. So I don't know. I think that it may have been a big deal, and people were watching his movies.
Yeah.
And he was blown up, and then he died. I think that's what happened. And it was a car that he had designed specific for him.
Yeah.
And he named it it was called the Little Bastard, I think.
Oh really?
There's a whole story behind this car where it's people think it's haunted, it's cursed. Whoever ends up owning the car, there's weird stuff starts happening.
Yeah.
But I think that he was big, and people had seen his stuff, and he was at the height of his career and buying expensive stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't think he had really that Heath Ledger Joker moment. I think people already kind of knew who he was, and they're just waiting for the next thing.
Yeah. I think, the other one, well, for me, a big one was John Cazale. So John Cazale, we were talking about him in a different episode, but
he's Fredo.
He's Fredo in The Godfather. He's in Deer Hunter, Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah, he's in The Conversation.
Yeah.
So he's The Godfather Part 2. Those are the only 5 movies he's in.
Yeah, he's in huge stuff. And I remember when I was watching through and I was seeing, there's John Cazale. And then I looked him up because I was like, where's the John Cazale stuff? How come I haven't really heard about this guy more? And found out, it's because he died.
Right.
That's why he wasn't in more stuff. So I think, I think if people are going back and they're hearing, Rebel Without a Cause, and they're like, I want to watch Rebel Without a Cause, and they watch it and they're like, wow, I really like this movie. And then they're looking up James Dean. I think they're going to have that same experience of, that's why I haven't. Yeah.
No, it is interesting because we're of a different generation.
Yeah.
I'll say. I have seen a reaction video of someone who's a little younger than we are.
Yeah.
Watching The Dark Knight for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And she talked about how it's it's really great. I know that Heath Ledger has since passed away.
Yeah.
And I was she has no idea. This movie the trailer came out.
Yeah.
And people were oh, come on, like they're gonna do like the Joker.
Yeah.
Like like we were still kind of like, dude, Jack Nicholson was the Joker.
Yeah.
Like he did a really good job, and you got like the guy from 10 Things I Hate About You to play
Yeah.
the Joker.
Yeah.
Like, come on, give us a break. And then he died.
Yeah.
And then they released the full trailer.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, like this might actually be really good.
Yeah.
And like he's not around.
Yeah.
And then the movie came out, and people were like blown away by this performance by somebody who died before the movie even ever got to come out.
Yeah.
And then he won the Oscar posthumously.
Yeah.
Like it was a huge deal.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like the movie came out and then he like passed away after, and it was very sad. It's like, no, this was like a talking point for like everybody before he died.
Yeah.
And then he died. And it was like the biggest thing that was happening at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was crazy.
I bet with James Dean it was the same way. I think it might have even been probably more shocking because we at least got Heath Ledger in stuff.
Yeah.
And gotten
like
used to seeing him.
James Dean was up and coming.
Yeah.
Like he was like, and he was young. I think he was in his 20s. But yeah, it was kind of like the same deal where it's like this is like a young kid and he's really good. And he's up and coming, and like I'm excited to see what's going to come next. And then he dies, and it's like, oh my gosh. And he was good. It's hard to describe without kind of like going into, the way that people used to act in film. Mm-hmm. A lot of them like came from stage, and a lot of them, were doing like live performances. And so they're doing a performance, mm-hmm. and it's very obviously a performance because the performance is not the point. The point is to tell the story.
Yeah.
And it still works, and it's still good, and you can still watch a lot of that stuff from like the 40s, and it's still like really entertaining and really good. But with the exception of maybe Orson Welles, there wasn't really anybody in the 40s and 50s that was acting very naturalistic.
Yes.
And James Dean was.
Yeah.
Like, he was acting like a human being.
Yeah.
And then, like, after that, I don't know, maybe Marlon Brando.
Yes.
And then that's, like, kind of like that shift where everybody started acting more like, no, this is how people act. Like, we don't need to put on a performance.
Yeah.
Like, the camera's capturing all of it. So, yeah, like, James Dean could have been, like, a Marlon Brando type. Where it's just like he was this pioneer who like he could have been in On the Waterfront, and like would have been believable as like a boxer or an ex-boxer, and maybe even like, so this is interesting. When Francis Ford Coppola was doing The Godfather, he said that the best actor in the world needs to play Vito Corleone.
Yeah.
And he thought there were only two people who could do it. And one of them was Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
And the other one was Laurence Olivier.
Oh.
Who was like widely considered probably the best actor at the time.
Yeah.
But if James Dean had survived, he had kind of that trajectory where it's like he's the first guy who's really acting this way.
Yeah.
In kind of the way that you might see Marlon Brando in A Streetcar Named Desire.
Yeah.
Like Francis Ford Coppola might have been like, well, there's James Dean,
Yeah.
who's been acting this way now for decades and is just the best at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Would James Dean potentially have become the Godfather in the Godfather movie?
I mean,
maybe.
Maybe. Like it's.
He would have.
I feel like because he acted in that way so early.
Yeah.
I feel like he only would have gotten better at acting in that way, and he would have had this head start.
Yeah.
Where it's like now people in the 60s are starting to act more naturalistic, but James Dean's already been doing it for like a decade.
Yeah. He would have been, like in his 40s by the time The Godfather came out? They would have probably put some stuff on him to make him look a little bit older, another 10 years or so older. and it would have been a more he would have played it. He definitely would have played it differently. I think anyone would have played it differently than Brando.
Right. Yeah.
But I think he would have done a really good job, because if you see him in Giant, he goes from. I mean, in Giant, he goes from like the young, kind of cocky alcoholic,
Right.
you know, almost like, but
so it's like old, defeated alcoholic.
Yeah.
Like kind of broken down by life a little.
But it is, it's interesting though, because he plays the young alcoholic. He plays it the way a young alcoholic kind of is, which is you haven't really ruined anything yet.
Yeah.
And you can still achieve all these wonderful, great things because you're young and you can just power your way through it. But then when you get old, and now you're an old 40, 50-year-old, 60-year-old alcoholic.
Yeah.
Now all there is for you is ruin and destruction and you just screwing everything up and making a fool of yourself. There's nothing left. You know, no one's going to be like, hey, you still got potential. Like, no, you're in your, you're done. So, really.
Suffice it to say, he had range at a young age.
Yes.
He had perspective at a young age.
Yeah.
So, like, in his late 40s, playing Vito.
Yeah.
Like, I think that would have been probably a really good performance.
Yeah. I look. I have this weird dream of scientists discovering alternate realities for one purpose only, not for anything cool.
Okay.
Obviously, it's so that I can go into another reality, like into their like blockbuster, and pick up The Godfather starring James Dean, and pick up The Great Escape starring James Dean, and pick up some other movie that's got Heath Ledger in it, because in that reality he survived, or Chadwick Boseman, or any of these people that we ended up losing. That I feel like, I would love to see, Black Panther 2 with Chadwick Boseman, or just see what Chadwick Boseman would have done. Yeah. If just things were a little bit different. And you know. So do I want to go into the alternate realities for world peace or for some great reason? No. Yeah. No, I want to go so I can watch a movie, Yeah. That has some of my favorite stars in it.
Yeah. I like that. I feel like that would be so much fun. I probably do a lot of the same thing too.
Yeah.
Or like, like the street lamps are made of ice cream here. You can eat them. I'm like, yeah. Like, get me the movie.
Yeah.
Like, get me The Godfather starring James Dean. Like, that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, we travel via unicorn. We travel via unicorn with wings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Show me those James Dean films that don't exist in my reality.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't realize how sad I was gonna feel having this conversation, but it is. It does. There is kind of a sadness to it.
That potential, that lost potential. Lost potential is always kind of the saddest thing.
Yeah.
I feel that way anyway after I feel like having been through enough tragedies.
Yeah.
It's like, man, what really kind of sucks is lost potential. And I like it sounds silly to say it, but like that's one of the main reasons for why it's more sad when someone passes away young as opposed to like when someone passes away who's elderly. Like, it's not just a matter of like, oh well, it's expected. It's like no, like the young person still has like potential to like bring something, and it's like the elderly person has fulfilled their potential.
Yeah.
And it's like that the former is a lot sadder than like the latter. It's like the latter's kind of triumphant. The latter's kind of like dude, that's awesome. Like you made it to the end of your movie. Like you did it. Yeah.
I think there's another weird thing I want to mention.
Okay.
One of the things is like with someone like James Dean, You never see them get older, so they always kind of remain young, at least in that form. But then there's actors that the first thing you see them in is like The Wizard of Oz with Judy Garland, where she's so young, and then you don't realize she's in other stuff. Because there's this whole gap in when you were born, she kind of was done with her career, even maybe passed away. And now, like, you can watch her in stuff where she's actually older. Like, I never realized I always thought Judy Garland died young, but she didn't.
Right.
You know, or like, Katharine Hepburn. You can watch a Katharine Hepburn film where she's very young. Then you can watch one where she's much, much older in life.
Yeah. And on Golden Pond.
Yeah, and you wouldn't even think that some of these people get older, but some of them do actually. They do get older. You just haven't seen every movie that they've been in. You've only seen, Gone with the Wind, where you're watching them kind of like when they're younger, and you're not seeing them age. That's true.
I can't. I mean, I'm sure there have been a number of actors where like I saw them and I didn't realize. Oh, this is the same guy, or this is the same girl. The only one that comes to mind right now is Faye Dunaway, where like I saw Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
And like, and I watched it with Dad, and my dad was like, yeah, like Bonnie and Clyde came out, and we were like, who's she?
Oh, yeah.
Like, who's that girl? And I didn't realize that I had seen Faye Dunaway in other things.
Yeah.
And for a while, like I would watch her and like she'd come up in some movie and like she's older.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I know that actress. I know her. You know?
Yeah.
Like I've seen her and stuff. And like I didn't realize it was Faye Dunaway. I didn't realize it was Bonnie and Clyde. Like,
she's in Chinatown.
Yes.
Yeah, with Jack Nicholson.
She's in Network. She's Mommy Dearest.
She's in Network. Yeah. Well, is there something?
She also does stuff like older. Like
name something more recent with her? Can you think of anything?
I can't even think of anything. Yeah. But I know that I've seen her. Like, you see her and stuff, and it's like, oh, yeah. Like, I've seen her before. Like, she's familiar.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, this is, like, even before my time, but you can take someone like Sally Fields, who... Yeah. She ended up playing Aunt May in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man films.
Yes, right.
And I used to watch her when I was a kid as the Flying Nun. Which is this TV show where Sally Fields would put on like this nun headdress that was like super, and she would actually fly, like this thing allowed her to fly around, and I don't even think that was her first role. I think she was in Gidget. She actually played this surfer.
She was in Gidget.
She was a surfer in Gidget.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, she's like my whole life has been watching Sally Fields. In various roles. Through the ages, just from me being like a child watching her as a teenager all the way to,
Yeah. Flying Nun totally sounds like one of my bad movie pitch ideas.
Yeah.
It's like, but it like they can actually fly and make a whole TV show off of it.
There are, I think people don't realize how bad TV was. I mean, there were just shows that were some of them are great when you're watching some of the older shows, but some of them are were really not that good.
Some of them are difficult to get through. Like, what's funny is like there are things like the Andy Griffith Show or like the Honeymooners, which are good.
Yeah.
They're good, but then you watch I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
Which was like out around the same time, and it's like, oh, this is so much better.
Yeah.
And like it holds up. Like you can watch I Love Lucy today, and it's still funny. And I feel like that's kind of what you see with a lot of like the older television is like you watch Get Smart, and you're like, this is hysterical, and then you watch like other shows, and you're like, this is just okay. Like like it's not that great. But they're good.
Yeah.
They just weren't as good as the best of the best.
Yeah. I Love Lucy's the gold standard. Yeah. I think you almost have to study it to see why it works so well.
Yeah.
But I think part of it is that
it's vaudeville.
I think part of it it is that they're dressed nice and they're trying to be respectable and they're trying to they intentionally want to look respectable to their peers and to society.
That makes it funnier when they screw up.
Yes, and there's a degree of like, Ricky has a nice suit on. He's dressed nice. His hair is nicely done. He's groomed. He's not a slob. It's fun watching slobs, but when something stupid happens to them, it's like, oh, something stupid happened to a stupid person. What? But like Ricky's intelligent and Lucy's intelligent. And really, like, what gets them into trouble is that they can't help themselves, which is something that's super relatable as a human. But then, like, when Ricky gets, like, a cake thrown on his nice suit, it's hilarious because he's trying to look respectable, you know? And he's like, and it's impossible to do that when Lucy's, like, tripping and, and making a mess of things. So it's, there is something... There's something lost there, I think, where they don't really do that too much anymore in comedy. The whole, that snooty, uppity thing.
I'm trying to present myself in a specific way.
Yeah.
That's true. That's I didn't even think about that as a factor, but I think that definitely contributes.
Yeah. You know what made me think of that, though? Someone was talking about Rodney Dangerfield. Yeah. And how when you're watching Rodney Dangerfield, like in a movie or on The Tonight Show, he's always in a suit.
Yeah.
And that, then they said, then I saw him like doing stand-up just at some like club, and he was wearing like a Hawaiian t-shirt.
Yeah.
And like shorts, and kind of doing the like, I get no respect. And he was like, he goes, it wasn't the same. Like the fact that he was in a suit, like means he's trying to look respectable. He's trying to be like a society type person. Yeah. And he just can't make it, But when you're dressed like a slob, of course you're not getting any respect. You're a slob,
So this is funny. When I was doing The Terrible Killers.
Yeah.
Boop. When we were filming, I was talking to the lead actors about wardrobe, and they were asking like what kind of wardrobe should it be, like what should we be wearing, and I said like it shouldn't be like formal per se, but like it should be a little nicer. Yeah. Like it should be like you guys just got back from like going on a date with each other.
Yeah.
And I said like, because I think it would be funnier to have you guys like trying to move like a bunch of dead bodies and stuff if you're dressed nicely.
Yes. Yeah.
And so like they agreed with that, but like that was kind of my reasoning for it. But like I didn't think to like kind of put two and two together, where it's like, oh yeah, like this is a thing. Like it's like doing this like ridiculous thing when you're in this ridiculous situation is funnier.
Yeah.
When you're dressed for like a nice night out,
Yeah.
So that's that's funny.
That's been lost on our generation. It certainly was lost on me, but the older generation, they do judge you by how you're dressed, and they do. The older generation will like, anytime I'm around them, they're always like, "Why the beard?" They kind of give me that, where they're like, "No, shave, like, get a haircut." Dress a little nicer, because I still dress like I'm 8 years old with my Bobby Kennedy haircut, I believe in America, but
just stupid,
spit
curl.
And there is something to it though, that there are people. It doesn't matter really. People are going to. They're going to judge you,
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm going to start dressing nice.
Life.
It doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to start dressing nice, but I understand where they're coming from, in that they're like, no, like you should take pride in your appearance and you should put an effort into how you're reflecting on other people. You should put an effort into that. And I understand it. I don't necessarily, I'm not going to go with it. But I understand where they're coming from. And it's just a generational shift too that happened. But when you do watch
to it, though.
Yeah, there is something to it. When you do watch I Love Lucy and there's like, you know, they're meeting with the head of the studio and you know, Ricky and Lucy do something silly. Yeah. You know, it is funnier because this guy's respectable.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. We got a little off track there, but I do have a game.
Oh.
I have plot twist.
Oh, okay.
So I give you a synopsis of a film, and it applies to two films. There's one that's more obvious and one that's less obvious.
Yeah.
And the way we've been playing it is that you just try and guess both movies.
Yeah.
So if you're ready.
I'm ready.
I think I can start here.
Yeah.
If I can.
If you can talk.
I can read from this far away. All right. In this film, we see anthropomorphic animals doing martial arts to their foes.
Kung Fu Panda.
Yes.
Which one?
Kung Fu Panda, the first one.
Which, the more obvious one or the less obvious one? Which one?
I thought you were saying which Kung Fu Panda. Yeah. There's been like 5 of them.
Yeah.
No, that's the more obvious one.
Okay, so the more obvious one is Kung Fu Panda, then the less obvious one is Kung Fu Panda 2.
Get out.
Okay, so we see anthropomorphic animals doing Kung Fu. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes. Yes. Wow. All right.
Okay.
Okay, next one.
Yes.
In this movie, a main character gains the ability to walk in order to go somewhere that they've never been before.
Oh, okay. Trading Places?
No, that's a good guess.
I think it's called Awakenings with Robin Williams and Robert De Niro.
Oh, no. But yeah, that's a good movie.
Learns to walk.
Gains the ability to walk.
Gains the ability to walk.
In order to go somewhere they've never been before.
The Jerk, Steve Martin?
No, he could always walk.
There's a movie... 30 Rotten Scoundrels with Steve Martin. That's the one I was thinking of.
Oh, no, yeah. He was just faking being in a wheelchair.
I can't believe how many movies I've already thought of that have a character that either couldn't walk or was pretending to not be able to walk.
Both of these movies, both of them, we grew up with, we watched them both a lot.
Yeah, so character,
one of them
RoboCop.
No, as children.
Oh, as children.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what your childhood was like, but when I was a kid, we watched RoboCop. Yeah. A game, Bambi.
For one of them. What?
Bambi.
Oh, no.
How am I doing this bad at it?
Yeah. Okay. So one of them, it's like a main plot point.
Mm-hmm.
Is that this is a character who does not have the ability to walk.
Yes.
Maybe because they don't have any legs, but then they get legs, and now they can walk. And we grew up with it.
Is it a cartoon?
And it's yes.
Oh gosh, dang it! Every time you do cartoons, it messes me up. Have you noticed that?
You just said Bambi. So I assumed you're thinking of cartoons. A moment ago, you said Kung Fu Panda.
Pinocchio.
No, it's more recent.
I just can't. Yeah, for some reason,
about as close to the '90s as you could get without actually being the '90s.
It's close to the '90s that you can get without actually being the '90s, and it's a cartoon.
89.
Is it Disney?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, dang it! For some reason, dude, I cannot. Wait.
You can't think of a movie?
Beauty and the Beast?
No.
The Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I have trouble with the cartoons because they're all over the place.
Oh my gosh.
So the Little Mermaid
Right.
is the obvious one.
The Little Mermaid's the obvious one.
Oh, jeez, Louise. Is
The-
the next
the
one a
other one-
cartoon as well?
No.
Okay.
But it is a family movie. It's a musical, and the being able to walk isn't a plot point. It's just something we always kind of made fun of the character
Oh,
for.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Is that what it's called? Charlie
Yeah.
and the Chocolate Factory? Yeah.
Yeah, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate
Willy Wonka,
Factory.
yeah.
Grandpa
There's-
Joe finds out he has a golden ticket. All of a sudden, he can walk.
Yeah, but you're talking about the original with Gene Wilder.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. I thought you would get Little Mermaid way faster than that.
I always have trouble with the cartoons. Always. Every single time.
That's hilarious. Okay, let me get to the next one here. In this 80s film, an elderly man is mentor to his high school-aged sidekick.
Back to the Future?
Yes, that's the less obvious one.
The Karate Kid.
Yeah. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Not to retread, but in this film,
Yeah.
Ralph Macchio gets the crap kicked out of him.
I'm assuming it's not the Karate Kid, so it's The Outsiders.
Yeah, that's both of them.
The Karate Kid and The Outsiders?
Yeah, so I did have the same movie pop up more than once in this round.
Oh, okay. That's not. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yeah.
And this isn't the only
Okay.
time
Okay.
that that's going to happen.
Yeah, so the same movie can potentially pop up. Okay.
But yeah, The Karate Kid and The Outsiders.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll get it out of the way now. So this 80s film
Yeah.
is one of the most famous time travel adventures.
Okay, Back to the Future.
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
obvious one.
That's the obvious one. It's one of the most famous time travel adventures. And it's an 80s film.
It's an 80s film, and it's a time travel adventure.
Time Bandits. 80s film, time travel adventure. And it's not one of the other Back to the Futures. Is it Terminator?
No.
It's not Terminator?
No, but that is a good guess. I did use the word adventure on purpose.
Is adventure in the title?
Yeah. What kind of adventure?
I mean, it's a great question, but Adventures in Babysitting? No.
That's not a time travel movie. Come on.
I know. I can't think of what the other time travel movie is. That has adventures in it?
Yeah.
The Adventures of Baron Samedi. The Adventures...
Much like
Give me a clue.
Back to the Future, much like in Back to the Future, the protagonists in this movie play the electric guitar.
Oh, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah.
Wow, that was embarrassing that I couldn't get that one sooner. That was embarrassing. Okay.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah.
The next one here. This film follows two men dressed in black suits with ties and sunglasses.
Men in Black?
That's the obvious one.
The Blues Brothers.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh man. Okay. This one's kind of difficult. By the end of this film, you don't know if it was all real or not real.
the end of this film, you don't know if it was real or not real. The Matrix?
No.
Okay. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? No.
No.
Uh,
I guess I could have also said, by the end of this film, you don't know if it was all a dream or not. That, I think, works for both films.
Vanilla Sky?
Oh, no, but that's a good guess. That's a good guess.
Let me see if I can... The Never-Ending Story.
No.
Um,
Like, these films both specifically have ambiguous endings in terms of their reality. Like, is it real? Is it not? Ambiguous ending.
yeah.
Was it all just a dream?
I don't know. You got to give me a clue.
All right. One of them is an action movie.
Okay.
Extremely well-known action movie. There are... gosh, I don't even know how to say this without giving it away. There are mutants in the film. My gosh. And one of the biggest, buffest action stars in history.
Okay, so Total Recall.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
The other one is all about dreams. Very recent, or more recent, I should say.
All About Dreams, and it's more recent.
By arguably the best living director. Well, I guess that's not really fair to say.
The best living director is either going to be Spielberg,
Yeah, that's why it's not fair to say.
Scorsese,
It's more recent director.
Spacey,
More modern director, more recent director.
you're talking about Christopher Nolan?
I'm talking about Christopher Nolan, yeah.
Inception?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not a bad clue. It's just like I don't know why I was having trouble with it.
I mean, yeah, that was kind of a rough one. There wasn't very much I could do with it. Okay.
Okay.
In this film,
Yeah.
you might say that Tom Hanks has the mind of a child.
Big.
Yes.
Forrest Gump.
That's right.
Yes. That was pretty good.
All right. James Earl Jones makes a memorable appearance in this baseball movie.
James Earl Jones makes a memorable appearance in Field of Dreams.
Yes.
And
That's
then
the more obvious one.
the less obvious one is The Sandlot.
That is right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I have one more.
One more? Okay.
In this horror film, a father is influenced by otherworldly spirits and attacks his own family.
Okay. Is The Shining the less obvious one? Or the more obvious one?
I would have thought it'd be the more obvious one.
Okay, so The Shining is the more obvious one. My father attacks his children. We're not talking about Empire Strikes Back with Darth Vader, are we?
No, it's specifically a horror film.
Haunting on Hill House?
No, but I feel like
There's this Ryan
you
Reynolds
might be
film
Yes.
that is
Yeah,
called...
I feel like you're confusing it with the
yeah,
other title.
there's like a Ryan Reynolds film that's actually... And I think it's a remake of another...
It's a
earlier
remake.
film.
Yes.
And it's, gosh, I cannot remember what it's called though. But yeah, he is basically trying to, they move into some house and the house like possesses him. And then he tries to attack his family and they finally, I think the ending, he doesn't end up hurting anybody, but they get out of the house is what they do.
Yeah. So that is the other movie. It's called the Amityville Horror.
Yes, Amityville. Oh.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, that was the other movie. And it is a remake. The original had Margot Kidder in it.
Oh, Margot Kidder was in it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I don't do good with cartoons or time travel movies.
No,
dream movies. That was it. Dream movies.
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah.
I'll have to keep that in mind for future plot twists.
Yeah, to throw me on a...
Well, regardless, I think that those are some good pages. So, until next time, brother.
All right, later, brother.